Welcome to the Green Ocean Weekly Podcast, a show to inspire leaders and aspiring leaders in real estate. I'm Paige Ward, your host. Today is a very, very special episode because it is, ladies and gentlemen, episode 1. So we thought it would be appropriate to introduce ourselves so you know who the heck we are and what the heck we're doing here. And so I would like to start off by introducing you to our real estate sales executive and co-founder of Green Ocean, Mr. Howard Chung.
Well, thank you, Paige. Yeah, I've been in the business right out of college myself. And, of course, being a first generation immigrant to the United States, where my parents, of course, is a classic, story of like, we came to this country so that you and your sister could have this amazing education and then, be one of three things, a doctor, lawyer, engineer. And that's it. You can only be one of the three, right? And as I was going through high school, of course, I was a straight A student and, doing all the hard work. And of course, my favorite show, or one of my favorite TV shows growing up, was a show called LA Law. And thank goodness I didn't become a lawyer. What happened for me personally is I actually was traveling abroad. I was studying abroad. And while I was traveling, of all places, I met my wife in Israel. So my wife was actually studying a year abroad in Jerusalem. And so we happened to meet through mutual friends. And 2 weeks later, she was, after I basically left Israel, we were starting to email, the early email days when email was literally just coming out, right? So
you got mail? Ding.
Pardon?
Was it
exactly. No, this is way before you got mail days, right? Before AOL, and there was like this system called Pine, and so like we would actually, email back and forth, and then we fell in love. Virtually from that process after knowing each other for 10 days, and we were married a year later, and right out of college, both of us was just like, okay, well, what are we gonna do? And so she got into Harvard and as a graduate program. And then, so I said, well, I'll work and support you. And then after you're done with your program, you can work and then, support me while I go to law school. But, the path that I went down is to go into real estate. New city, Boston, Cambridge, Massachusetts, didn't know a single soul, 22 right out of college. And I was very successful. I loved the business, absolutely loved it. I thrived in it. By my third year in real estate, I was the number 1 agent for the entire East Coast. I started with Century 21, so 4 Century 21 franchise at the time. And so I loved the business. I didn't like the hours, right? I did, especially when you're being that successful and selling that many properties, average sale price being under 200,000. It was just crazy all day long. So I said, I don't want to do this, but I can build systems and that type of thing. So really, over the years, I've developed a lot of strategies, a lot of sales systems. I eventually became an executive with a large independent real estate company. And I love doing what I do. I've gotten to learn a lot of different things in the industry, keeping up with the technology and the times. My wife eventually became a psychologist. And so she's always sharing with me best practices because she's not just a regular psychologist, she's an industrial organizational psychologist. So that's basically the study of work and the importance of how we work. And so, and leadership and management. And so she's always feeding me kind of the best tips, that's basically being done, learned at large companies, the Googles, the Amazons, and what have you. And so, as I basically take a lot of that information in, I try to translate that to the real estate business, to individual agents. But, so often a forgotten group are the managers, franchise owners, managers, team leaders, because a lot of times they got into that role, not because they had a ton of management experience, but because they had a bunch of sales experience. So they went from being a real estate agent themselves to becoming a manager, and yet they never really had a leadership development path. They just kind of, winged it to a large degree. They were really good often in operations or, deal doctoring. But things have changed so much. And so we got to be well beyond just being a deal doctor, right? And so I think that's what Green Ocean is also about, is really empowering those leaders, recognizing, what they do, because without them, really agents wouldn't be able to survive. The industry wouldn't be what it is without leadership. And so we really want to kind of bring Green Ocean as a solution for them, inspiration for them, as well as aspiring leaders like you kind of introduced to us. And so I think we all, it doesn't matter, whether we're a brand new agent or we've been in the business for, a gazillion years, but, leadership is something that we're always developing and learning from. And so I think that is kind of part of our ethos, right, is really inspiring leaders, right, and inspiring aspiring leaders in real estate. And it's a great business, and so we hope that people will really enjoy the content that we bring here at Green Ocean.
Absolutely. I know as somebody who has been a business owner and in management and different leadership positions throughout my life, you're always looking for ways to get your own inspiration so that you can inspire others to be the best that they could be. So totally what we're all about here. So I would like to introduce you next to our marketing / technology / social media expert, Mr. Jason Fox. Yay!
Okay, thank you very much, Paige. I appreciate that. What a wonderful introduction. So unlike Howard, I got into sales for a different reason. I realized that in my 20s that sales allowed me to make the kind of money that I needed without committing quite as much as I was ready to commit at that time. So in my 20s, I sold a lot of different stuff, everything from cars to appliances to windows. And it was in my 30s, and I got married. The first time started having kids, I thought, okay, well, it's time to really buckle down and find something and stick to it. And so that's actually when I met Howard. We've actually been friends now for about 20 years. And when he was starting one of those offices, we kind of hooked up, and I started learning real estate from him. He kind of became, I know he doesn't really like this, but he kind of became my mentor. And, I learned everything that, everything that he had to teach tenfold. And anyway, so we started some marketing companies. And anyway, right now I am in the process of purchasing a small affiliate real estate office. I'm a member. Yeah, thank you. I am a member of an award-winning real estate team, and I'm still the owner of Jason Fox Real Estate Marketing, which is a small marketing boutique that specializes in helping real estate agents kind of learn how to market themselves, get them a web presence. And that's something I've been doing for about 15 years now. I've been published on Huffington Post and Forbes, and I've won lots of different blogging awards and stuff, and been recognized as one of the top real estate blogs and these kind of things. But it's always been kind of my mission to help real estate agents kind of get ahead in terms of marketing and tech, because as I now know so familiarly, real estate agents wear a lot of hats, and we have to do a lot of different things. And so if I can give somebody a leg up on one portion of it, then my job is done.
Very good. It's one of the fun things that each week, Jason, you're going to be sharing a tech tip with us. So that's pretty exciting. So, after each episode, you're going to walk away knowing something new that you can apply. For example, we learned when we were all speaking earlier this week, a really valuable tech tip from Jason. And that was, if something's not working, make sure it's turned on. So that was... I know.
It's true. My microphone was not turned on, and I was trying everything but the power.
So yes. So when all else fails, make sure your microphone is turned on.
There you go.
So.
And Paige, we also want to have the opportunity for you to introduce yourself. And we've known each other for a good number of years at this point. And you are a pro, not just in the real estate business, but also just being on screen, on camera. And I think that the real estate business, especially in a post-COVID kind of era, us being comfortable, the video thing has been around for a while now, but in particular, our ability to present ourselves well, articulate ourselves well, in front of camera, behind the camera, everything around the camera, and be confident. And you are kind of a pro. So tell us a little bit about that background and your experience there.
Well, okay, we'll go kind of like what you did there, Jason. A little bit back to my childhood too, where just growing up, always seemed to be performing or looking for ways to be on stage. And Howard, like you were interested in all the business classes in school. I was absolutely into all of the music classes, the dance, the ballet, the jazz, the performance of any kind, the jazz choir, and so definitely very much an arts background. A number of years after that, I was going to broadcasting school in Seattle, and I was going to be getting into some radio work. And one thing kind of led to another. I did a video. I ended up somehow making a television commercial for the school and went on a set on a mini series as an extra, met an agent, got signed on by an agent. And it's just kind of snowballed over the years. And I have learned a lot over the years of what to do and what not to do. And so I will hopefully get the opportunity to share some of that with you as well. It's not always as easy as it looks, and that's okay because we've all got to start somewhere. So you're going to be learning that too. All right, now Howard, we're hearing the word Green Ocean TV, and we want to know a little bit, what does Green Ocean mean, and what does it mean to you?
Yeah, so I think even though this is episode 1, and it's like, well, what's the purpose of talking about something like a name? But a name actually really matters because as the leader of your own company, your name matters, right? And so there's basically a strategy called the Blue Ocean Strategy, and it's a book that's pretty well known out there. And the idea of a blue ocean is all about competition. So in order basically, for you to compete, if you're a brand new agent, for example, and you're entering into the real estate business, guess what? You got a lot of competition out there. And when you've got a lot of the competition and they're already doing what you do, oftentimes the only way to compete is by reducing your price, right? So it's basically a cost-cutting system. And so that's the red ocean. The red ocean is where you're competing by just dropping the price. And a lot of companies have successfully done that, right? Enter into a market and basically said, we're going to be the cheapest, right? We're going to offer the same exact service and solution or product, but we're going to be cheaper. And that's a red ocean approach. A blue ocean approach is saying, you know what if you created a brand new market that doesn't even exist out there? So a really good one, a good example is Costco. So the Costco model, if you didn't actually know, the way that they make the vast majority of their money is not by just selling product, it's by membership. Now, if you really think about it, prior to Costco, how many brands were really out there where their entire business model was on the membership or subscription, right? Mm-hmm. Of this basically the ability to shop at this location, to buy your toilet paper and olive oil, and of course they've got so many other products where they do have margins now. But that was the idea of a blue ocean. So then that's a blue ocean strategy. So as a real estate professional, if you're entering into a market, what's a brand new product or service that you could potentially offer? That if you start thinking along this line, then it's like a blue ocean strategy. So for example, iBuyers. Well, iBuyers are like saying, hey, we want to introduce a brand new product directly to the consumers, where now you can just bypass agents for the most part. You can just go ahead and sell your home directly to us, right? So, all of a sudden it's a brand new product. So we got to really start thinking kind of like Wall Street, understand a high level of philosophy, strategies, and tactics in order for all of us to thrive in the real estate business. Now, what does that all have to do with Green Ocean? So I think we've all seen a beautiful green ocean. If you think about a green ocean, you think of like Hawaii or somewhere tropical, and it's amazing, and that beautiful, green tint and the reflection, all that good stuff. But a green ocean is actually the makeup of water, of light, and finally the phytoplankton, which are basically the nutrients, right? And so that's really kind of, how the Green Ocean concept was born, is we basically said, what if we got a bunch of the best educators, a bunch of thought leaders, people who are great out there. A lot of the leaders listening right now, you are an amazing thought leader. You've been teaching for years. You've got so much knowledge. So that is light, right? Whenever we're basically shedding light, that's basically, as thought leaders, as leaders, that's what we do. So that's the light portion, right? Getting all the best industry experts, to basically speak on topics that real estate professionals need to know. The water is basically all the technology as well as data, right? So all the little bits of data, those ones and zeros, as far as just like, boy, it sure would be great to know the best practices of the best agents and teams out there. And if I had that data, if I understood and was able to analyze that data, wouldn't that make my business easier? Yeah, because then you don't have to make the same mistakes because there's data. And then what about the phytoplankton? What about the actual green color itself? Well, that's the community. That's all of us who love the real estate business, who really believe in real estate and home ownership and helping clients and the real estate transaction, that, you know, one of the greatest financial emotional investments anybody's going to make. And if we are really there, right, believing in the ethics and, you know, really loving the business, and, you know, of course, most real estate professionals love the business. That's why we're in it. And so, you know, this is basically, you know, that's the community, that's the nutrients. And if we can all share with each other and create basically data as a result, boy, it sure would be nice if we could all learn. And that's what Green Ocean is all about, is taking the community of users, taking thought leaders, and taking technology and data, combine that all together, you get a Green Ocean. And even if we learn something, we have to know the action items, the next steps. And that's what we're trying to do, is not just provide content, but also the reflective action items that will really help us all really kind of take our business to the next level and just also grow as people. And so that's really what Green Ocean, the term, that's a long answer, right? But that's basically what Green Ocean is all about, in the name.
Yeah. Howard, it's a shame you really didn't put any thought into naming it, because, you know, and in fact, that is so helpful. And I've got such this visual that's amazing that I have to like just pause for a moment and sort of take it in and really appreciate why you named it that. And really, when you think about it, light and water and nutrition, those are the things that we can't live without. And it's what feed us. And so I love it. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I think we're always talking about technology, but again, technology by itself is not really the answer, right? But when we can actually utilize some of the technology and then the data as a result of that technology, right? And we always talk about machine learning, but you know what the best machines are? It's people. We're better than the machines because we can process data and information like no other machine can. So it's just a matter of understanding and learning enough of the data. What are the trends? What are best practices? That's all data, right? Who's doing what, where, and why is that working? That is really good data. So let's share that data with one another. Let's have it on technology platform. Let's have the thought leaders. I mean, you know, that's really what it's about. We're the best. We're better than the machines, basically, right?
Yeah. Who invented the machines anyway, huh? Well, thank you again, Howard. That was awesome. Jason, every week, our faithful viewers, episode 1, Jason's going to be offering a tech tip. So I know he's been just chomping at the bit to share with us today. So what have you got for us, Jason?
So I think what we've seen recently is a lot of virtual meetings, right? I think everybody's been getting this, whether you're a real estate agent, I'm sure you have been. But even, you know, if you're not in the real estate industry, I've been on Zoom calls with friends and well, I actually had my wedding on Zoom. So
that was recent. Another thing you didn't know about Jason yet. He's a newlywed.
I'm a newlywed.
That would have been awesome if you just did it for Zoom like a year ago, just cause.
Yeah.
Because you're really cheap and you're trying to save money.
Right. No, yeah. I was like,
she might not have married him.
And I also have 4 kids, by the way. I don't know how I didn't mention that the first time. And they're so I'm a dad, and that's kind of my game. So my dad game is strong. I'm going to bring it every week. But so everybody's getting used to this Zoom and virtual meetings. So I just wanted to kind of maybe talk a little bit about some Zoom hacks or tips. You know, everybody kind of knows now that when you get on and you can put a virtual background on, and that's pretty cool. Maybe a little bit annoying, but what if you want to have like a better, clearer picture? Then there's some things that you can do. It was for a while there where you couldn't get like high definition webcams. So what I'm using right now is my Android, my Samsung phone for my webcam. And I'm using an app, and it's was about $10. It's called IV Cam. You can download it on Google. If you have an Apple phone, there's what's called Epic Cam, and you can download that off of Apple, and they're both under $10, and then it will connect to your Wi-Fi. The other thing is you might want to really invest in a better microphone, right? Our laptop microphones aren't that great. Some of the lapel microphones are okay. I've had better luck with some than others, but I mean, why not just go ahead and get yourself like a studio quality microphone? The one that I bought is called a Samsung Q2U. And anyway, it was $69 on Amazon. Sounds great. And if you want to spend a little bit more, there's some, probably better ones, but this one does the job for me. Little thing you can do, I don't know if everybody knows this by now, but if you're on a conference and you're muted, if you hold the space bar down, you can act like a walkie-talkie and unmute yourself just long enough to talk and then get yourself back into mute. So you don't disrupt the meeting. Yeah, that's a great one.
That's so super cool. Then I'm not searching around for my mouse and trying to find the mute or unmute either. I love it. So in the meeting, if you're muted, hold down the space bar.
Hold down the space bar as you're talking. Don't just click it, but hold it down.
Okay.
And then you can talk, unmute yourself, and get back to being anonymous.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that one's real helpful. The other thing is lighting, right? So I think also, and I don't mean this to be a brag session, but I think my lighting is very good. And so I am facing a window, and that's a good way to go. You don't want to have the window behind you. I was doing that for a while because I like the scenery, but I looked really blurry and faded out. So now I'm facing the window, but I also have a ring light shining down on me. So I got the ring light off of Amazon. I think it was $99. It's great for doing videos, doing these Zoom meetings, and it's just a real easy way to create great light.
One of the things that few people, or like, in the real estate industry, we don't do enough of is doing a calendar invite. Okay. So obviously we all have a calendar, whether it's a Google calendar, an Outlook calendar, any kind of calendar, and I'm sure everybody here already has a Zoom, account. So you can go ahead and send somebody a 15-minute Zoom invite, right? 15 minutes. And you send the calendar invite, and of course in the description, just checking in, right? Something as simple as just checking in. How are you, right? So just checking in, and then you include the Zoom link, and then you type a little bit something. Hey, I'm just checking in with all my, all the people that I care about the most. Just wanted to see if you had 15 minutes just to check in. And so if you send somebody that calendar invite, they're going to appreciate it, right? And so you will have made somebody's day just checking in, right? And they'll check in with you, and they'll ask you about the real estate market. So please, of course, on top of that, be ready for the question, how's the market? Okay, because it'll come up. You're checking in, you don't bring up real estate, it's guaranteed that a client or a friend, hey, so how's the real estate market? And you're going to be able to articulate 3 different categories. Number 1, talk about months of inventory. What is the inventory situation? So don't just say it's great. Don't just say, oh, it's amazing. That's not, like, oh, okay, well, what's great about it? So you got to provide data, and the data bit is tell us about months of inventory. So, and if you can also say specifically months of inventory in that person's neighborhood or community, you're going to be even that much more relevant, right? So talk about months of inventory. Also talk about what interest rates are doing. So as a buyer, right, the cost of buying a home is so dependent, not just in terms of the price of the home, but on the interest rate. So talk a little bit about interest rate. And obviously the guidelines are changing weekly. And so, know what's basically happening right now as far as that piece goes. Talk about opportunities as well. Like, hey, so there's some great deals out there for people who can qualify. So, I mean, that's all context to how's the market. And then finally, what's the local economy doing? Right? Every single economy locally, what's going on over there, right? And so if you can speak to those 3 things, you will have a very intelligent question, and your 15 minutes will probably be like 30 minutes. So don't like schedule another 15 minute right back to back. That's hopefully an obvious one. Schedule 15 minutes, but you're giving it at least 30, right? Because you're just checking in. But if they ask about the real estate market, how are things going, you've got that kind of ready to go. So that's your homework kind of assignment for this week, is send somebody a calendar invite where they have to click the accept button, the decline button, the tentative button. I think we all know how to do that. But if you don't know how, figure it out, right? Google it. Watch a YouTube video. Howard. Right? So go to a calendar, right click, right? So, forward, send it, share it, that type of thing. But that's an important, I think, practice that every business professional has got to know how to do today.
Can I, when we started doing more of this Zoom stuff, and I am not here as the local tech expert, just so that you know, but I found myself defaulting to whenever somebody would say something about a Zoom meeting, my default was, okay, why don't you send me an invite? Because I wasn't sure how to, and I was a little intimidated by that. And I kind of caught myself and realized that, wow, I really need to step up my game a little bit there. And so my husband has an office across the hall from me, and we left the doors open, and I got on, sent him an invite so he could just literally holler across the hall, got it, and it was really nice because I could see what it was like on the receiving end of it too, and get that immediate response. So if you have a spouse or a friend that you can kind of practice with, that's okay too for your first one. It was really helpful for me.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great advice. And Howard, you actually gave probably the best tech tip ever. And that's the one I give probably more than any others is if you don't know the answer, Google it.
Jason, you're on a roll.
Yeah. I Google everything.
There are so many things I've learned from a 12-year-old, like in, Asia, who made this YouTube video step by step. I'm like, boy, that was really helpful. And so, yeah, you can, and now actually I YouTube probably like questions more than I Google them because I want to see the video, right? I want to be able to click pause, do it side by side. I mean, that's really just that natural behavior that we ought to all do, of course, right?
Yeah. Do you know, Howard, you had mentioned something too about that inevitable question of how the market is. And it's really funny too, because again, as a real estate agent, when somebody asks you how the market is, it's really easy to go to that, how's the market from the perspective of an agent or broker. And you've got to remember how the market is in perspective to that person, because that's what they're asking. They want to know how's that market going to affect them and what does that mean for them. And so you always have to kind of remember to look at it from that point of view.
That's a really, really important point. I think a lot of times people, right, we answer the question without asking another question. This is probably sales 101, right?
Right.
But whenever somebody asks you a question, you answer it, but then you ask another question. Right? It's a great opportunity to ask another question. So if they say, how's the market? And then you talk a little about months of inventory and interest rates and all that, then you could say, hey, so would you like an idea as far as the value of your home? Because right now, especially during the spring, early summer market, it's a great time to get an evaluation, even if you're not thinking about selling. And then that's a really great follow-up question to the question that was asked of you, which is how's the market? And then a lot of times all sorts of answers come out. Oh, that'd be great. We're actually just thinking about, and all these other rich conversations, of course, come out as a result of that.
Howard, this week or today, what went well?
This Memorial Day weekend, my wife was just like, hey, let's just go for a drive. I know it's COVID and we really shouldn't be out, but can we just go for a nice long drive? And that's exactly what we did, is we just went on this really nice long drive, and we drove for like 4 hours, right? We took a ferry, and it just gave us time to there's no agenda, but we just spent a lot of time together. And, Zig Ziglar, who I think, everybody knows who Zig Ziglar was, and, an incredible motivational, inspirational. One of, his best stories is about, ended up with basically the statement, you never get, quality time. It's only in the quantity of time that those quality moments will arise. Basically, I'm kind of paraphrasing there, but it was probably literally in the last 15 minutes of that long ride where we just kind of almost had this aha with each other, like a new, like deeper goal and personal vision that kind of like just got shared. Not because like we were, not wanting to share that stuff. It's just because, boy, in that full 3-4 hour ride, that's just how the time came about. And we just connected deeper as a result of that. And so, so it was just one of those kind of moments. We've been married almost 25 years now. And it's just neat to still have one of those kind of things that went well. So long car ride with my lovely wife went well.
And you had a moment. And I love the fact that you can actually be aware and appreciative of having moments like that. That's so cute. I love it. All right, Jason, I'm going to ask you the same, my dear. What went well?
So this Memorial Day weekend, my wife and I and two of our kids went to a camping trip, and my kids took us into, they pull us into the RV, and they're like, you have to see this, is broken, something's happened. So we rush in there with, who knows, gas is flying or something, and there's nothing there, right? And we're like, what's going on? So we go back into the cabin where all our friends are, and there was a cake, and everybody congratulated us for our wedding and kind of gave us this impromptu reception that, you know, we just haven't had the opportunity to get. And it was, I had no idea that was happening. And so, you know, we got to share that special moment. And
well, that's something that went very well.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just really nice to be around people and stuff.
Right.
So, yeah.
I know. What's that like? I almost forgot. I miss that. I miss smiles. I miss hugs. I'm a very huggy person. So this has been really, really tough on me in that respect.
Yeah.
So I'll ask myself what went well, right?
Yeah, we're just going to say, you know, a little bit of context to what went well is consider replacing the question, how's it going, with what went well, right? It's because what went well, WWW, dives a little bit deeper. You actually have to think about what went well. When we ask the question, how's it going, we have some default responses like, oh, it's great. You know, but so it's not really going deeper in the relationship. And what went well, you know, is number one, in order for you to ask it, you really have to want to know. And number two, you might get different responses, and it just draws a deeper relationship, right? So that's why we're asking this question, and we want to ask it on a regular basis here. So Paige, what went well for you?
What? Well, thank you for asking, Howard. That must mean you really care. Actually, you know, let me, full disclosure, everybody here, we tried shooting this episode last night and my internet just went all wonky and it was crazy. And what went well is you guys handled it just like pros. You just go with the flow. It's okay. And we got to redo this again today, better internet, and it forced me to call my company, get stronger, more powerful internet. So that went very well. So that was a good thing. I'm getting the thumbs up from Jason, our tech guy. And then I have 2 kids that have graduated from college this year or are in the process of graduating. And even though this year is different than most, we recently celebrated my daughter's graduation from a college back on the East Coast online. And we are about to celebrate my son's graduation here in about a week and a half, also online. But I'm grateful for that. They're grateful just to be done. And while as a parent, it's, you know, kind of a bummer that you don't get to sit there and watch the whole procession and the whole cap and gown, but they got their caps and gowns and mama's getting pictures and we just celebrate in a unique way. And they both understand that this class of 2020 is the class that's going to be strong, and they're going to learn from this, and they're going to be like the cool class in time, you know, because people say, you know, they'll say what year they graduated. It's like, oh yeah, you were that class. So thanks for joining us. We hope that you're inspired by today's show. Be sure to sign up for your free trial of greenoceantv.com. Learn from master level industry experts and complete the all-important Go Actions. Go Actions help you and your team execute effective tasks in business and life each and every week. Again, thank you so much for sharing your time with us, and we'll see you again soon.